Buenos dias from the city of brotherly love. This is the Rorschach Spain update from the 25th of September 2025. This week, our writer is taking a break, so we, got to admit, via an LLM, has written a logarithmic history of Spain. By logarithmic, I mean that the more recent the period, the greater the coverage it gets. So we'll start back in the olden days, but accelerate up until now. So the more recent the period, the more play it'll get. Many may not be so interested in this. Feel free to shut us off, but some might. So let us know what you think, because at the end, there will be a call that we will designate that you can join to discuss. Story of Spain begins long before the idea of a nation existed, in a peninsula where early humans left some of Europe's oldest cave paintings at Altamira. Over time, the Iberian and Celtic people developed distinct cultures, joined by Phoenician traders who founded colonies such as Cadiz, and by Greeks and Carthaginians who competed for control of the Mediterranean coast. The decisive transformation came with Roman conquest, beginning in the 3rd century BCE. For 6 centuries, Hispania was deeply integrated into the Roman Empire. Its cities flourished, Latin and Roman law spread, and Christianity eventually took root. Collapse of Rome in the 5th century brought the Visigoths, who established a kingdom centered in Toledo and sought to unify the peninsula under their rule and Catholic faith. In 711, a new era began when Muslims arrived from North Africa across the Straits of Gibraltar and swiftly toppled the Visigothic kingdom. For centuries, Al-Andalus, as Muslim Spain was known, became one of Europe's most sophisticated societies. Córdoba emerged as a dazzling capital of learning, architecture, and trade, where Muslims, Christians, and Jews interacted in varying degrees of cooperation and tension. Agricultural innovations, libraries, philosophical traditions of Al-Andalus profoundly shaped European culture. At the same time, small Christian kingdoms in the north, such as Asturias, León, Navarra, Aragon, and Castile, slowly expanded southward in the long struggle called the Reconquista. By the late Middle Ages, the Reconquista had gathered momentum. Castile and Aragon grew into powerful realms. Marriage of Ferdinand of Aragon and Isabel of Castile in 1469 created the foundations of a unified Spain. In 1492, their forces captured Granada, the last Muslim stronghold, and expelled many Jews in the pursuit of religious uniformity. Same year, Columbus's voyage opened America to Spanish conquest, inaugurating an empire that stretched across the ocean. Gold, silver, new crops flowed into Spain, while missionaries, conquistadors, and settlers carried Spanish influence across the globe. The 1500s or 16th century, under the Habsburg monarchs, particularly Charles I, also Holy Roman Emperor Charles V, as well as Philip II, was Spain's golden age. Madrid became a political capital, Seville a commercial hub. Spanish culture flourished, and with figures like Cervantes, El Greco, and Velázquez. But empire came at a cost. Wars against France, England, and the Protestant Netherlands drained resources, while dependence on American silver fueled inflation. By the 17th century, Spain's dominance waned, symbolized by the failed Armada of 1588 and a series of very expensive wars. In 1700, the Habsburg line ended, and the War of Spanish Succession brought the Bourbon dynasty to power. Bourbons introduced reforms to centralize authority, modernize administration, and revive the economy. But Spain struggled to keep pace with Northern Europe. The Napoleonic invasion of 1808 shattered the old order, sparking a brutal war of resistance and inspiring the Cádiz Cortes to draft one of Europe's earliest liberal constitutions in 1812. At the same time, Spain's American colonies fought for independence. By the 1820s, most of its vast overseas empire was lost. The 19th century was marked by instability. Liberal and conservatives fought over the direction of the state. Monarchs were deposed and restored. Regional tensions simmered. Industrialization began slowly in places like Catalonia and the Basque Country, but the countryside remained very poor and agrarian. The disaster of 1898, when Spain lost Cuba, Puerto Rico, and the Philippines after a war with the United States, seemed to confirm national decline. Intellectuals and reformers of the generation of 98 sought ways to renew Spain culturally and politically. Early in the 20th century, there was more upheaval. Social tensions, workers' movements, and regional nationalism challenged the old monarchy. In 1931, King Alfonso XIII went into exile. The Second Republic was declared, promising reforms in land, education, and regional autonomy. The Republic was deeply divided between left and right, reformers and reactionaries. 1936, a military uprising led by General Francisco Franco plunged Spain into a civil war. The conflict fought between the Republican government and Franco's nationalists became a brutal proxy war of ideologies. drawing in Nazi Germany, Fascist Italy, and the Soviet Union. After 3 years of devastation, hundreds of thousands of deaths, Franco's fascists, or Phalangists, won in 1939. For nearly 4 decades, Spain lived under Franco's authoritarian rule. Political parties were banned, regional languages suppressed, dissidents harshly punished. But the regime adapted. Autarky in the 1940s gave way to limited liberalization and economic modernization. From the 50s onward, tourism, foreign investment, and industrial growth gradually transformed Spain into a somewhat more modern society, though under strict political control. Franco's death, 20N, in 1975, opened the door to transition. King Juan Carlos I, expected to preserve authoritarianism, instead guided Spain towards democracy, working with reformers to dismantle the dictatorship peacefully. The 1978 Constitution established Spain as a parliamentary monarchy with broad regional autonomy and legalized political parties, labor unions, and civil liberties. In the following decades, Spain consolidated democracy, joining the European Community in 1986 and adopting the euro in 1999. Cultural dynamism flourished, epitomized by the artistic energy of Madrid's Movida in the 80s. 21st century brought both progress and challenges. Spain enjoyed rapid economic growth in the early 2000s, fueled by construction and integration into global markets. But 2008 financial crisis hit Spain very hard, leading to unemployment and austerity. Political fragmentation has grown, with the traditional dominance of the Social Party and the Partido Popular challenged by new movements such as Podemos, Ciudadanos, and Vox. Regional tensions, particularly in Catalonia, have tested the limits of Spain's decentralized system. Spain remains pretty vibrant as a democracy, a key player in the European Union, and a society that balances tradition with modernity. From prehistoric cave art to a global empire, from civil war to dictatorship to democracy and integration with Europe, Spain's history is one of dramatic shifts and enduring resilience. The story is not only about kings, wars, and empires, but about an ongoing struggle of its people to define freedom, identity, and a place in the world. And that's it for this week. Thanks for joining us and for that little interlude of history. If you want to discuss Spanish history, join us on a Google Meets meeting on Tuesday, the 30th of September at 5 p.m. Spain time. That's 11 a.m. U.S. Eastern time. We'll share ideas, exchange opinions. Check out the link in the show notes. Schedule a call. Send a link to whoever you want. It'll be open, and we'll just talk about Spanish history with me. Hasta la próxima.